Drawn and Redrawn, The Making of India's Internal Boundaries.
Hi, and welcome back to India's State Stories, a project that explores the evolution of India's political and administrative boundaries. This project is supported by the Center for Legislative Education and Research, Flame University, Pune.
Now we turn towards the last set of princely states that became the Part C states. These were the unique territories that were governed directly by the central government through a chief commissioner. This status was reserved for such states that were either deemed underdeveloped or held strategic importance. They were also generally intended as temporary arrangements later to be merged into either Part A or B states. The following episodes take a careful look at each Part C state and the story behind its formation. Listen to the first 3 episodes of Season 2 to understand a deeper context. These episodes give an overview of the entire process of integration, along with an introduction to the legal instruments and some key personalities which made it possible. More details are in the show notes below, and let's dive in.
Right after a monumental partition, when the very map of a new nation was still being drawn, not with these grand, sweeping gestures, but through really intricate negotiations with hundreds of individual kingdoms.
Yeah, it was a period where, the big declarations of independence met the tough reality of actually forging a unified India, one princely state at a time.
Exactly. And today, we're taking a deep dive into one particularly fascinating story. The integration of the ancient princely state of Tripura into the Dominion of India.
It's a great case study.
Sure. Our sources for this journey, they include some critical historical accounts, official documents. We've got excerpts from Article 35.pdf, for instance.
Right, and also personal notes, assessments from key figures. VP Menon especially, he was so central to this whole process.
Absolutely pivotal. So our mission for you, our listener, is to quickly get you well-informed on Tripura's unique path. We want to uncover the strategic imperatives, the human stories behind the decisions.
And those kind of aha moments, the ones that really reveal the sheer scale and complexity of building a nation back then.
Okay, so let's start with Tripura itself, its background.
Well, what's truly remarkable about Tripura is that it wasn't just like some minor state created recently. Its history stretches way back to antiquity.
Really? Antiquity?
Yeah. The identity of its ruling family, its traditions, they were meticulously preserved in this Bengali epic, the Rajmala.
Wow. So this deep historical lineage meant it came to the negotiating table with a real sense of its own history, its own sovereignty.
Exactly. It wasn't just a piece of land. It was an entity with centuries of independent existence behind it.
And it wasn't always just about quiet tradition, right? There was a period of significant military strength.
Oh, absolutely. During the 16th century, the Tripura Raja's military prestige was really at its peak. They were a formidable power in the region.
Actively engaging, challenging neighbors.
Definitely. But you know how history goes? Fortunes can turn pretty dramatically. By the 18th century, the state had suffered some major military setbacks, particularly at the hands of the Nawab of Murshidabad.
Okay.
And that led to a reduction in its territory, and eventually it came under Muslim control, at least partially. This period saw a real shift, demographically and politically. Muslims became dominant in the plains areas.
Which were then distributed among nobles, the sources say.
That's right. It permanently reshaped Tripura's internal dynamics, this Plains Hills divide deepening.
So then the British arrive on the scene. How did they handle Tripura, given this history?
Well, when the British eventually took control of the broader area, they made a really critical decision about Tripura. They allowed it to keep its territories, but specifically focused on the hill areas.
Distinguishing it from the surrounding plains.
Precisely. So this British policy essentially preserved, or maybe reinforced, a unique geographical and political identity for Tripura. It kind of set the stage for the challenges that came later.
Interesting. And you mentioned a parallel with the Khasi Hill states.
Yeah, it's worth noting. The British managed relations with regions like the Khasi Hills through the governor of Assam. And remarkably, this administrative setup continued for those states even after August 15, 1947.
Even after independence?
For a time, yes.
Yeah.
It highlights this sort of administrative continuity, even amidst massive political change.
So given this ancient lineage, the power shifts, this unique British era status focused on the hills, How did all this play out for a newly independent India, especially right after the trauma of partition?
Well, Tripura's position became incredibly precarious. That's probably the best word for it.
How so? What were the immediate pressures?
Post-partition, Tripura found itself caught between really two massive pressures. First, an immediate and severe humanitarian crisis.
And refugees.
Exactly. The state was just inundated with non-Muslim refugees fleeing from what was now East Bengal or East Pakistan. This huge, sudden influx strained everything, resources, administration to the breaking point. A real human tragedy unfolding.
And the second pressure?
That was strategic. And perhaps even more critical from New Delhi's perspective. Tripura's location. It was a border state.
Right next to East Pakistan and near those tribal hill areas in Assam and Burma.
Precisely. That made it a vital frontier.
Yeah.
Ensuring stability and security. There wasn't just a local issue. It was absolutely paramount for the new Indian nation.
Yeah.
It needed immediate special attention from the central government.
So you've got this humanitarian crisis crashing head-on into an urgent strategic vulnerability. It sounds like the new Indian government, which was still finding its feet, didn't have a lot of wiggle room.
Not much at all.
Was VP Menon's assessment that the only viable path was for India to take over Tripura directly? As a chief commissioner's province, was that seen as the only way forward?
From the sources, yeah, it seems Menon saw it as the most practical, the most immediate solution. But to really get why it felt so urgent, you have to layer in another concern.
Okay.
There were serious worries, and these are documented, about potential conspiracies, specifically by agents from East Pakistan.
Trying to do what?
Trying to potentially force Tripura to join Pakistan instead of India, exploiting its location, the chaos after partition.
Wow. That adds a whole other dimension.
It really does. This geopolitical anxiety just intensified the urgency for a swift, decisive integration with India. It made direct central administration seem not just viable, but maybe essential for national security.
So it wasn't just about helping with refugees. It was about preventing a hostile takeover, potentially.
That was definitely part of the calculation, yes.
Okay, so the stakes are incredibly high. National security, the humanitarian crisis, the very map of India is being drawn. Who's actually at the negotiating table for this?
The key players meeting in Delhi were, on one side, the Regent Maharani, Kanchan Prabha Devi. She was the daughter of the Maharaja of Panna, and she was representing her son, the ruler, who was still a minor.
And on the other side?
VP Menon, the main architect of integrating the princely states.
And the sources mention something about the pressure applied during these talks?
Yes, and this is a critical detail. It speaks volumes about the leverage involved. The Maharani was reportedly told that Indian government help they desperately needed for the refugees. For border security would only come if she signed the state over.
Only if she signed. That's quite blunt.
It is. It suggests it wasn't just a negotiation between equals. It was a moment where immense humanitarian need became a powerful lever for political integration.
It really highlights that tension, doesn't it, between the ideals of consent and the hard pragmatism of security in building a unified nation. Rulers were put in impossible positions.
Absolutely. Choices that you could argue still resonate in regional identities today.
So, under these incredibly difficult circumstances, what did the final merger agreement actually look like for Tripura?
Well, the agreement itself was signed by the Regent Maharani, acting for her minor son, on September 9th, 1949.
Okay.
Then, just over a month later, October 15th, 1949, the administration of the state was formally taken over by the government of India.
And that's when it became a Part C state.
That's right. A Part C state, meaning it would be centrally administered by a chief commissioner, appointed directly by Delhi, not merged into a larger province like Assam, for instance, direct central control.
That's a significant distinction. What were the specific terms? What did Tripura cede, and what did the royal family receive?
The terms were quite precise. First, the Maharaja ceded, and this is the language used, full and exclusive authority, jurisdiction, and powers for governing the state. All of it transferred to the Dominion government.
A complete transfer.
Complete. The Dominion government became fully competent to exercise all governing powers from that day. Second, there was a crucial bit about public services.
For continuity.
Exactly. The government of India guaranteed that permanent members of Tripura's public services could continue in their jobs under conditions no less advantageous than before. Vital for keeping things running smoothly.
Makes sense. And the privy purse, the financial settlement for the royal family.
Yes, that was very significant. The Maharaja was guaranteed an annual privy purse of 3,50,000 rupees. That's 3,050,000 rupees.
A substantial amount back then.
Very.
Yeah.
And importantly, It was free of all taxes for his lifetime.
And what was that meant to cover?
It was meant to cover all expenses for the ruler and his family. Personal staff, armed guards, maintaining their residences, costs for marriages, other ceremonies, even allowances for relatives who were already receiving them from state revenues before the merger.
So a comprehensive package designed to maintain their status and security just without the governing power.
Precisely.
Now, that decision to keep Tripura as a centrally administered Part C state, rather than immediately merging it somewhere like Assam, why that specific approach?
That's a really good question, and the sources do shed light on the strategic thinking there. This approach, making it a chief commissioner's province, was chosen deliberately.
To give it special attention.
Exactly that. To ensure that states like Tripura receive special focus, and crucially, direct financial and technical help from the central government.
Help that maybe a larger province couldn't provide at the time.
Right. It was recognized that the existing provinces, they were grappling with their own major post-partition challenges. They might not have had the resources or the bandwidth to give these strategically vital or particularly challenged regions the focused management they needed.
So direct access to central funds, central expertise, bypassing state-level bureaucracy.
Pretty much, yes.
So was this seen as a permanent fix or more of a temporary measure?
The evidence suggests it wasn't meant to be permanent. The sources indicate a clear long-term intention, or at least possibility.
Which was?
The idea was to review, down the line, whether these centrally administered areas should eventually merge with nearby Part A or Part B states, but only after certain conditions were met.
Like achieving more stability, more development.
Exactly. So it reveals this deliberate, staged approach to integration, not a one-size-fits-all solution, but something more flexible, allowing time for these areas to stabilize and develop with direct central support.
A pragmatic approach for a new nation trying to piece itself together from all these diverse parts.
Very pragmatic, yes.
Looking back at this whole story, this deep dive into Tripura, what really stands out to you about that delicate balancing act? You've got this ancient history, immediate crises like refugees and security threats, and then this long-term strategic vision for India.
It's the sheer complexity, isn't it? How all those threads, historical legacy, urging human needs, geopolitical fears, administrative choices, were all interwoven, all happening at once, shaping the outcome.
Absolutely. And there you have it, our deep dive into the integration of Tripura. We've tracked its journey from an ancient kingdom through its ups and downs to becoming this critical border state right in the eye of the post-partition storm.
We've seen those high-stakes negotiations, the Regent Maharani, VP Menon, the pressures involved.
Right, culminating in that agreement, making Tripura a centrally administered Part C state. A pragmatic move, as you said, aimed at ensuring its stability and future development within the new India.
And I think this story really underscores that nation building, it's not just about drawing lines on maps or making speeches. It's messy. It involves navigating these incredibly complex historical relationships, dealing with immediate human crises, confronting hard geopolitical realities.
All while trying to create new ways of governing.
Exactly. And it leaves us with a thought maybe for you to ponder. How do those initial conditions, those strategic decisions made right at the birth of the country, how do they continue to shape the unique identity, the development path, maybe even the internal politics of regions like Tripura even today?